Hello again, I'm glad you're here. My name is Alex, and in this video we're going to make character move as well as giving him some animations so he looks more alive. If you are new to game dev and you don't understand some stuff, make sure to ask your questions in the comment section. Besides of that, if you want to learn something or you want to take a closer look on some aspects from this series, just let me know in the comments and I'll make video about that. All you need to do is just to ask me. Alright, here is our project from where we left off. I'm gonna create another platform, and for that I'm gonna do right click and find duplicate and just move it a little bit over here, change the shape. And I think I wanna make another one, but this time I'm gonna use hotkey. So just press Ctrl D to duplicate. Next step would be select the player, create component, and this time it's gonna be script, and let's just name it player. Open it by double click, and before we write something in here, I want to take a moment and explain 4 main type of variables that people use to make games and how to declare them. First you write type of the variable, then you give it a name, then you can set default value. What you can see in front of you is one of the most used type of variables, integer. Integer can store only whole number. Like in this example, you can have 5 coins, but you cannot have 4.5 coins. And int will not allow you to use number with decimals. But if you want to use number with decimals, you can use float. Float allows you to store number like 4.6, 2.8 and whatever comes to your mind. It can be used, for example, to define speed of the character or his jump force. Make sure you put f after float number, so you won't have any errors. Then there is a string. You can use it to type text. For example, you can use it for UI or name of the character. And we got boolean. It can have only 2 states, true or false. Boolean is very useful. For example, you can use it to say whether player is knocked or not, and so on. Alright, now we have that settled. Let's type public rigid body 2D and give it a name RB, and then we're gonna create another public float which we'll use for speed of the character, and let's set it 5 by default. We're gonna create private float moving input, and in a second I'm gonna explain why we need it and what it does. In the update function, let's just type move input equals to input.getAxis and then open parentheses, and in the quotation marks type horizontal. Now I'm gonna do debug of the move input, and that will allow me to explain how I'm gonna move my character. Just give me a second, I'll change color to something darker. Now let's go to Window, General, and find Console. I'm gonna drag it over here, and in the play mode you can see when I'm pressing my horizontal keys, which is A and D or arrow keys, my console shows me some numbers. So if I'm pressing key to the right, it gives me positive number. If I'm pressing key to the left, it gives me negative number. And I'm gonna use that to make my player move. I'm just going to multiply this value by move speed and use it to change player's x velocity, because objects in 2D world are moved by vector 2, which just uses x and y. And once you understand that, you'll understand that making 2D game is just so easy. If you want to move your character to left or right, you just change his x to the minus or plus value. If you want to make him jump, you just change his y to the plus value and he'll jump. Alright, so that's what we're gonna do. So let's go to Visual Studio, and in the update we type rb.velocity equals to new vector 2, and for the x we're gonna use moving input multiplied by speed. For the y we're gonna just type rb.velocity.y, so it will use its own velocity. Back in Unity I'm just gonna drag rigid body to the rb field and hit play, and in the play mode you can see indeed my character moves to the right and left. Ta-da! Nice! But I guess you can see that my character is getting kind of acceleration instead of instant movement, and I want to change that because I want my movement to be snappy and quick. So let's go back to code, and right here instead of getAxis we're gonna type getAxisRaw. And to show you what I mean, I'm gonna do just one debug line of this moving input. In the console now you can see that I'm getting either 1 or -1. No floating numbers like it was before. Now let's animate the player, and I'm gonna create folder animations, and inside I wanna create Animator controller. Just click right button and find Animator controller in the create field. Let's name it player AC, then select player and drag it to the inspector. Next step would be go to Window, find animations, animation, drag this over here, and we're gonna create new clip. So I'm just gonna click this button, create. Inside I wanna make my first animation, player idle. And then we go to player folder, find idle sprites and drag it over here. Let's check it. I'll set 15 to see how it looks at the moment. Maybe it could be a little bit faster, so let's set 20. I think this is fine enough. Now let's make another animation. I'm gonna name it player move and find sprite sheet for movement. Now we need to change pixel per unit to 16. And actually we can do this for all of them, so let's select all of the files, write 16 and hit apply. Now I'm gonna open move sprite sheet, select all of them and drag them to the player move animation. Let's change sample rate to 15. Well, I think it could be faster, so I'm gonna make it 20. Now let's go to window, animation, animator, and this is Animator. Say hello to Animator. With the help of Animator, we can make character look alive. Whenever you want to set up the animations, you're gonna do it here. Now we have player move and player idle animation. Orange color means that animation is set by default and it will be played if you don't do any changes. Now we need to set transition between two animations, so let's go to parameters, hit plus and find boolean. I'm gonna write is moving and I'm gonna copy this name because we need exactly the same name in the code. Now let's click right button on the player idle and make transition to player move. Now we're gonna select this transition, find is moving and make sure it's a true. We open settings, uncheck exit time and make sure transition duration is 0. Now I'm gonna do same transition from move to idle, but this time condition should be is moving false and uncheck exit time and duration 0. Now let's select the player and we can see that we have animator, but we don't have control of the animator. So what we can do is go to script and just type public animator and let's call it just anim. Now let's go to update and I'm gonna create a temporary boolean that I'm gonna call is moving, and this boolean will be true only if player's velocity on the x is not equals to 0. So we type rb.velocity.x not equals to 0. Now let's use our animator, so I'm gonna type anim.setBool. And first we're saying what boolean we're gonna control, so we write exactly the same name as we have in the animator. And second, we're giving its value, and we're gonna set it to the same boolean we just created, is moving. Let's drag the animator to the anim field in the player script. And finally, we can see it's all working together. The only issue you can see here that he is walking backwards, but we're gonna take care of that in the next video. Later on we're gonna have lots of variables in the inspector, so I wanna get access to rigid body and animator from the code. To do that I'm gonna make them both private, and I wanna get component in the start function, so I'm gonna type anim equals get component of animator and then parentheses and semicolon. And same goes for rigid body 2D. You can see that our update is getting messy, and later on it can get real messy, so I want to make another function for animation controller first. Let's just type private void animator controller open parentheses. I'm gonna cut out this line and paste it in here, and as well this one. I'm gonna cut it out and paste it in here as well. Please don't be dumb like me and cut it out and paste them together. Now, even though we have this animator controller, it doesn't mean it works. You can check this by looking at the name of the function. It is not highlighted. To make it work, you can call it from somewhere, and because we need to do checks for animator all the time, we're gonna call it from the update. Now you can see that animation is highlighted, and it means it's working. Now I wanna make fixed update method, and also I wanna quickly explain what is the difference between update and fixed update. Fixed update, as you can guess by the name, is called fixed amount of time per second. You can check it by going to edit, project settings, find time, and here you can see fixed time step. And then update is called once per frame. If you do your physics or movement in the update, you can have weird bugs like Fallout 76 for example. The higher FPS of the player was, the faster he moved. I don't think it's important for our game, but I thought you should know. So let's move this line of code from the update to fixed update. Let's delete the empty spaces and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, it was a dirty move.